As educated, spiritual, driven huntress women, there's this deep-seated desire for more. We want more, we want expansion, we want evolution, we want growth, we want to have it all. And I believe that as women in this generation, we do get to have it all. However, sometimes that looks like unscaling your business so that you can scale your life. I believe in having a lifestyle rich life, meaning all areas of my life are rich. And sometimes we don't realize that with the distracted, spiritually bankrupt world that we currently live in, with so much noise and so much conflicting opinions, we can get trapped in what I call false lovers. So today I want to introduce to you my Seasons of Life formula. Some of you guys have my Lady Balls book and may already be aware of what I talk about. A woman's life is in seasons. And this month, actually in a few days, we're celebrating Lady Ball's second birthday. How to actually apply this to your life. So in an ideal world, this would have naturally happened, right? Like when a baby girl is born, there is a natural evolution to what she goes through and the stages that she goes through. And typically we would have had our mother, our aunts, our older sisters, our grandmothers guiding us through this evolution. And we would have this very spiritually rich, what I call like ancient goddess wisdom that would have been passed down to us in our lineage. So right now, what I'm seeing in a lot of my clients is there's a lot of confusion on what to optimize their life for. So to give you an idea, I work with high achieving, driven, spiritual, educated women. And sometimes there's like this push and pull, like they want to go all in their business. Of course, like we're huntresses. Of course, we want to go all in our business. However, they also want to date for marriage and they definitely want kids. And so there can be this like, I get to have it all, but like, how do I really do that in a practical way? And so this is where I really believe that we need to be able to give women individualized advice based on their exact season of life. So I'm going to actually share some stories with you where you'll start to see how this plays out. So recently in one of my group containers, a student asked me, she said, I love that you give everyone, every woman sort of a different customized like business strategy. Because a lot of my work is spiritual and energetic in nature, but I do have like business strategies that are proven to work through evolutionary like science and just human nature. However, what that looks like applied will depend on every woman's season of life. So for example, a single woman in who's like 24, and so she's gonna go all in her business, right? Like she's like, I'm gonna go hot and heavy. Like this is where I'm optimizing my entire life for. I have an exact blueprint that I provide in my mentorship group that they can follow. However, we also have people in that group that are pregnant with their second baby. Well, she's not optimizing her life to go hot and heavy in her business, but she does want to make money. So I will take little bits and pieces of that strategy and customize it for her where she's getting, ping, 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 passive sales coming in while she's in labor. But she's not going like hot and heavy like this woman. And I think we really need to be mindful of this. And you, as a consumer of coaching, mentorship, and even free content, need to know that every bit of advice, it's good, but is it matching the season of life that you're currently in? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this from my clients that will help you kind of understand this principle in practice. So I'm recently right now working with a client and she's got a toddler and her father is terminally ill. And so he's very much like in and out of the hospital a lot. And she's in a newer marriage, like she's only been married for a couple of years. So obviously the first couple of years of marriage, you're building that foundation. Her husband has a full-time job that requires a lot from him. Well, this client of mine has a business mentor. She hired me to help her through like the spiritual transition of her father and motherhood. And so I'm not her business coach. The business advice that she's been receiving from her business coach has been, oh my God, let's scale your business. And so she's right now making 6 figures and she's on her way to making 7 figures. But this requires her to be traveling all the time. The nature of her work, it's not, you can't do it on Zoom. You can't do it on the phone. You have to be present with the client. And so she's trying to work through this because her husband's job, she doesn't want to not be there for her toddler. Her dad, they don't know when they're going to get the news. Like he's literally in and out of the hospital. And so she was telling me, she's like, Mina, every time I go to my business coach, she's like, okay, hire more people. So she's trying to hire people, but that's not helping because she still needs to travel. So the other advice was just like take your family with you. Well, what about her dad being in the hospital and like her husband's job? And she tried taking her toddler, but then she also needs to travel with a nanny. And then she's with the client, but she's like thinking about her son and the hotel room with the nanny. So then her business mentor said, well, why don't you just fly private and take your dad and like your mom and like everyone with you? And I was like, okay, let's just like hold on for a second. I think all of that is brilliant advice. Can we just like lean back for a second and just acknowledge that we are so blessed that we live in times that all of that is available to us? We can travel all over the world as women. We can take our babies with us. I've certainly done that. We can travel with our nanny. I have family members that do that. We can fly private and take our entire tribe with us. That is so amazing. And here's what I asked my client. I said, in this season of life, knowing that all of those timelines are correct, what do you want to be optimizing your life for? What is the timeline? Knowing that none of them are wrong, you can choose to do any of those things, they're all correct. And which timeline do you want to choose? What do you want to optimize your life for? And after a lot of emotions and releasing things and talking this through in from many different dimensions, what she really came to was this isn't the time for her to scale her business to 7 figures. Now, I am all for women scaling and having big, bold businesses. I really believe we get to have it all. But is this the season, this exact moment for her to do it? She decided that it's not. She's okay with having more of that, passive business. And when I mean passive, there's no such thing as completely passive, right? Like she is the 6 figures that she makes a year right now requires about 12 hours a week for her, which she can comfortably manage with the toddler and her dad and her husband's schedule. She decided no, she gets to have 7 figure business, she gets to have an 8 figure business, she gets to have a 9 figure business, and she gets to be a billionaire at some point in her timeline. But at this exact moment, it's not the right time to hold all of it. Are there people that can hold all of it? Yes. So she was giving me the example of her business coach who is traveling all over the world and doing all of this thing, and she has little ones. And as I was asking more questions, it was also uncovered that she has 2 very, very healthy and young parents, the business coach, who live with her and who their primary enjoyment out of life and entertainment and job is to watch her children. So of course she can do that. And I love that for her. Like having your parents who are healthy and joyful and present with your kids, like it's the biggest blessing. I had my parents when my oldest one was little. He's 21 now. And they used to watch him while I was in school full time and I was running my real estate business. And trust me, that was the biggest blessing ever. I didn't have that with my younger two. They passed on by that time. And there is no childcare that you can pay for that is going to be the same as 2 healthy grandparents that want to watch your children 24/7, right? And I said, yeah. So for her timeline, that makes sense. That woman can scale all the way to 9, 10 figures. I can totally see it because her capacity right now is there for that, right? Versus for my client, she shouldn't be optimizing to scale this business at the expense of becoming spiritually bankrupt in her marriage, in her with her toddler, with her dad. Because here's the thing, we are so good at manifesting, we are brilliant at it, we know this. And even as someone like me, who I am a manifesting queen, but can I manifest my children being toddlers again? No, I cannot. Right? I practice spiritually grounded manifestation. Right? I'm the kind of delusional that gets results, but not the kind of delusional where people are like, do you need help? Right? Like, it's grounded. And so I have no regrets that when my children were little, yes, I had this YouTube channel. I started this YouTube channel, not this one, sorry, my main YouTube channel, the Universe Guru YouTube channel. When it was 6 months after my mom passed away, my second baby, Ayan, was 6 months old. My older son was 6, and I was just coming out of like postpartum depression / grief. So was I putting my creative energy into something? Yes, that YouTube channel. Was I trying to be on global stages? No. Because at that time, I didn't have the capacity spiritually, emotionally, physically to be able to do that. Starting the YouTube channel expanded my capacity. The woman that you see in front of you today, the 8-figure woman scaling to 9 figures, she is who she is because that version of me started the YouTube channel. But if I forced myself on global stages and all, could I have done it then? Yes, sure. I'm sure I could have done it. But at what expense? I have no regrets of being 100% present in the lives of my children, especially in that precious time when they're like on you 24/7. Like, you don't get that time again. I have the fondest memories of that time. And now we all work from home. My kids are virtually school. And so we're together all the time, but it's a little bit different because I have a 21 year old, 15-year old, and an 11-year old. I have so much more capacity internally, energetically, spiritually. And I'm not telling you to play small. I am always telling you to play on the edge. I'm playing you to push the limits and boundaries. But I want you to do it in a way that is really seriously having it all, not with regret, not with being spiritually bankrupt. I want to share with you another story of a client that kind of fell into that trap of over optimizing her life for just one area, and it almost cost her everything. I was recently working with a client who would call me literally from her lunch break, from her car, crying about her team. She had transitioned from corporate to running her own business. And so logically, she had hired a business coach, as we should. However, this business coach forgot to ask my client's ultimate goal for starting this business. And business coaches, rightfully so, are designed to help you scale your business, start your business, get you making some money. And so what was happening with my client is she was making 6 figures in her business, multiple 6 figures a year. And her business coach had helped her like design a team and a structure. But what was happening was this team was so cumbersome to run that it was taking up all of my client's energy. So the thing was that when she started this whole journey at 34, and her ultimate goal was to quit corporate, start her business, get married, and have children. She really desired family, romance, legacy business, all of the things. And so she, hires this business person, gets this business going. She was overwhelmed with the business. It was like, okay, hire another person. So she hired more team. And then every time she would get overwhelmed, her business coach would advise her to hire more people. So she ends up with 12 team members who are requiring so much energy to run and manage. And every time she goes to her coach, she just says, hire more people, hire more people. That business coach was trained by a male business coach, which is primarily how we've received most of our business information, because women are newer to business in the way that we're doing it now collectively, right? So it makes sense. That business coach wasn't wrong. It was just that my client's entire blueprint, her seasons of life, her rich lifestyle wasn't taken into account. So she does this for 3 years. By the time she hires me, she's 37, sitting in the car, overwhelmed, crying her eyes out, has absolutely no energy to actually date. She would go on these random dates and she would be so energetically depleted that they would just never work out. So in just a few months, I unscaled her business. So we brought down her business to something that actually felt good. And initially, her income went down, but her profits went up. Because now that she doesn't have this 12 people team that she's hiring, and the thing is, people don't realize that when we're energetically depleted, we tend to spend more money on what I call false lovers, on things that she would try to get these, like this quick burst of energy from spending money in places that she normally wouldn't have to spend if she wasn't so energetically depleted. And so it was a little bit of like an energetic hit for her that her income started going down. But then when she realized, oh, the less income I'm making, I'm keeping more of it and I'm happier and I have more energy to actually date. And so then she started dating using my spiritual formula. And within a couple of months, she had really amazing prospects. And her life started looking up, because at 37, if you want a family, like that's not going to be an age to mess around with. Right. And people will tell you, oh, you can have, kids in your 40s and 50s. Yes, but should you be optimizing your life for that? Like, for example, I can receive medical care, God forbid, if I had a heart attack, but does that mean that I should be optimizing my life for that? No. And so a lot of times we have to understand that when you hire a specialist that's like zoomed into one area of your life, that's their job. That's not wrong. But as women, we are cyclical beings. And having it all doesn't mean we have to cram it all in like this one season of life. It means having it all in our entire life. And that means we do need to be discerning of the advice that we take in and say, okay, this is great advice. All advice is great advice for someone. And then, is it great advice for you right now in your particular season of life? And this is really important for us to consider as women, especially now with so much advice coming at us 24/7. And this is why in my mentorship containers, in my private coaching, I do give advice on the exact woman's timeline. My psychic gifts, my intuitive superpowers are to be able to see exactly what timeline you're headed on. And if that's what you desire, great, I'll help you optimize that and get there faster and quicker. But if that's not the timeline that you desire, then we need to make educated, spiritually aligned pivots. And with that, I want to invite you into Overflow, the lifestyle rich woman. This is my last transmission for 2025. It's a 6 transmission portal that's currently on pre-sale for $111. I would love to have you in there. Yes, I want you to make more money than any woman ever in history. I want you to know that that is available to you. And I want you to do it spiritually rich. I want you to do it with the relationship of your dreams, with the family and the kind of parenting that you know you're destined to. I don't want you to rob from your children and give to your business. I don't want you to deplete your union but have a successful business. That's not true success. And so I want you to stop scaling your business and scale your life. Here's the secret. When you scale your life, your business must scale. It naturally scales because your business comes from your overflow as a woman. It really truly comes from the overflow of your embodiment. And so we cannot just be overly optimizing just to scale our business. For what purpose? For what purpose? So I did not try to scale my business when it wasn't seasonally appropriate for me when my children were little. I really was attuned to my spiritual alignment. Are there people that can do it all at the same time? Sure. But let me tell you the secret. A lot of times in the background, there's always an energetic price. And maybe they have more capacity, and maybe their circumstances are different. And I celebrate all women and all journey. And when a woman shows up in my containers in my world, I tune into her unique frequency, her unique spiritual journey, her unique timeline and desires. Because there are some things that are timed in the human plane. I can make money even after I'm dead. I just saw this article. It's so funny. It just showed up in my feed that apparently Michael Jackson he is 2025's highest earning dead celebrity. Did you guys know this? So I just thought it was like, oh my God, this is like so cool. Like he's the highest earning dead celebrity, which means we can keep earning money even after we're dead, but we can't get married after we're dead, right? We can't have babies after a certain age. And so we want to be real with stuff that's real in the biology of being Homo sapiens. Yes, we should be delusional in certain beliefs, but in other beliefs, if we're delusional, are we okay? And what I absolutely love about Kainat, which is my high close proximity mentorship container, is there's women in there of all age groups. We've got 22-year-old educated spiritual women. We've got women in their 50s. And there's a couple of women in there that are in their 50s that got busy with life and over optimizing other areas. And before you knew it, they were in their 50s and they really desired children, and it didn't happen for them. But you know what they're not saying? They're not going around telling women that, sure, like, you could just do it later, or kids are not important or whatever. They're saying, we've made peace with where we are, but if you want kids, do it when you can. And this is the kind of spiritual mentorship and guidance that we are craving. A lot of times what happens is when women have made decisions that they haven't made peace with, they want to fight for that, even if it's not the best advice for other people. And so we need to be spiritually discerning of, maybe that's good advice for some people out there. Is that the best advice for you? And so I would love to have you in Overflow. The link is in the description box.